When I first walked into camp, she's telling me that I have ADD. She comes to camp, you have ADD, do you know that? When you first meet somebody, is that something nice to say? Is that a compliment? I have ADD?
The other problem with Judd is he has a problem with recall.
Survivor Guatemala is often forgotten in the vast ocean of old to middle school seasons, and that is quite a shame, because it is better than you remember. It has the honor of being the first ever season that mixes new players with returnees, introducing us to the game-changing hidden immunity idol, introducing advantages to the game, and being set in the Mayan ruins. How cool is that? After the phenomenal Survivor Palau, Guatemala has a lot to live up to. So, can it pull it off? Let's find out. Do you want to watch every video I make before they ever get publicly released here on YouTube and pick what videos I make? Then join me on Patreon. You can sign up and cancel at any time, and heck, if you join for a year, you get a 15% discount. Thank you for your support. Number 1, the Thematic Twist. We are doing it like the Mayans do. That is what Jeff Probst says during the basketball competition where they run on nets, and I'm not sure if the Mayans play that game, but I guess now I do know because Jeff told me. I'm not quite sure though. The setting for this season is amazing, and after last season's theme of war, the theme here is Mayans. From building archaeological tents to witnessing and participating in chicken sacrifices, and one of the camps literally being set in the Mayan ruins, Mayan culture is the theme, but it is still somehow lacking. Don't get me wrong, the setting is amazing. Doing tribal council in the Mayan ruins is one of a kind, but this season flounders when it comes to us actually meeting local Mayans, meaning they don't even show up into the finale, and it is only for 4 minutes. And when we do see them for that 4 minutes, they're doing their sacrifice, and Stephanie will not shut up about wanting to eat everything they're using for the sacrifice. So many things this season are attributed to the Mayans, and I did learn a lot, but the local Mayans are pretty much never shown. It's a bit odd. However, it doesn't really affect gameplay, and it does feel like set dressing, unlike the past few seasons where the theme actually did affect what was going on. So the Thematic Twist here scores a 5 out of 10. Number 2, production quality. Oh man, another season I wish was in high definition. In fact, pretty much every season after All Stars I have wished for this, but here especially since the Mayan ruins location is epic, and I bet it is more beautiful in person. As usual, I have color graded this footage to boost its look, but I can't magically make it HD. It is an excellent location for those of us watching at home, as the challenges get very physical this year, and once again, they're fun to watch despite all the injuries they cause. And Jeff just keeps getting better and better as the host. Aside from resolution, going back from a modern season to watching this one isn't that crazy, all things considered. It's definitely not whiplash like going to Borneo. The return of Bobby John and Stephanie is an interesting choice since they're being mixed in with newbies, and this has never happened before, so Survivor's really experimenting here. And the editing clearly favors them at many points, for better or for worse. New twists are added to the game that change it up, but not too much that the social aspect is shoved aside, and it seems like all I'm doing here is heaping praise, but there is a catch. The storytelling team loves Stephanie, Judd, and weirdly enough, Brandon. So much so that too many players are pushed to the side. The first 4 boots of this season are completely forgettable, causing a slow start like Vanuatu. The 11-mile hike in the premiere episode is epic, but it comes at the cost of learning anything about anyone except for 3 players, and 2 of them we already know. Unfortunately, the first 3 episodes feel almost worthless because any alliances formed in those episodes don't matter, as episode 4 and beyond is where any strategic value is held. A slow start to any season can leave people feeling uninterested and unmotivated to finish it, which is a shame, because once we get in episode 4, things pick up, and then once the merge hit, it just takes off. The drama gets thick. This is mostly for another section, but the shafting of telling a good winner story really sucks some life out of the season, but that is for a multitude of reasons, not just storytelling. For Guatemala, the production quality scores a 7 out of 10. Number 3, strategic play. This season is a mixed bag of strategy. Pre-merge is fairly basic, with almost every decision being based around who can help win these extremely physical challenges, with only a hint of thinking beyond that basic thought. Episode 7 and Danny save the pre-merge strategically with her birthday party and talks of returning players and how they affect the game. However, the merge is when things go haywire in the best way possible. It all starts normal enough with a predictable boot, but the introduction introduction of the hidden immunity idol, challenge advantage, and the majority alliance just imploding makes for a fun second half of the season. Who is going home in the pre-merge is fairly obvious, but that is not the case in the post-merge, especially when you see some people get extremely salty after being voted out. There is no one person playing an expert game here, but Danny takes Vesepia's strategy of underdog under the radar female player and improves on it. Pretty much no one is mad at her by the end, unlike Stephanie. And speaking of Stephanie, her and Rafe make a bunch of huge moves, but also huge blunders within the same moves. It's a real highlight to watch. Strategic play this season gets an 8 out of 10. Number 4, the characters. Oh man, let me name every character this season that I really liked. Judd, Gary, Stephanie, Amy, Lydia, Bobby John, and Danny. Now that is 7 people out of a cast of 18. Not bad, but there are a lot of duds here. I know some will notice how I didn't mention Rafe in that list, and I'm not calling him a dud, I just personally didn't fall in love with the guy. Thankfully, most of the people I do like make it deep in the game, which helps. Judd is hilarious and a treasure. His blowups are the best, and he says the word man 200 plus times this season, and it is mind-blowing. Gary's undercover act that gets blown up in episode 2, but he stays committed to it, had me laughing out loud. Stephanie's fall from grace and rise as a villain is immensely interesting only one season after being America's sweetheart. Lydia is a sweet lady who's a bit fun and kooky, but for some reason Jeff just hates her. Bobby John is a lot more layered as a character than he ever was in Palau, and Danny plays this Chris Doherty Vesepia game in her own unique sweet girl next door way. But everyone else in this cast is a bit meh. Some of the other people do have a moment, it's just overall to the season, were they a great character? Not really. There are literally 3 women who get voted out in a row in the pre-merge, and I cannot tell you their names, let alone what order they get voted out in, let alone anything substantial about them. Which is a shame. A bunch of bland characters who all seem to be filling the same archetype are on this season instead of some real diversity. It's a weird choice. Lydia is pretty much the only representative of anyone who isn't Caucasian since she was born in Japan and grew up in Puerto Rico. 9 players this season are 25 and under, which is half of the cast, and it just seems odd since that is the category where most of the forgettable players fall into. Character score gets twice the weight, and the characters here score a 7 out of 10. Number 5, the winner. Do I like Danny? Yes, I think she played an interesting game where it was clear that she was purposely making moves at many points in the game, not just at the end. Her personality seems like she'd be easy to get along with, and she kind of had a dorky sense of humor at times. Frankly, there isn't much to not like, except her story. Her story is completely overshadowed by so many other players that it is hard to see the gold she is producing when surrounded by Stephanie complaining for the umpteenth time, and Gary swearing that he is not an ex-NFL quarterback, he just plays one on TV, and Judd saying, man, he hasn't lied yet, but he's considering it, man, after lying all game. Danny also seems to not ever explain what she is thinking strategically to us, except for some rare exceptions. So it really feels like you have to watch her at all times to see what she is up to, because she's probably not going to tell you everything she's doing. That seems to be why at the reunion she says she wasn't under the radar, she beat the radar.
I kind of like to think of myself as like a stealth bomber. You know, I never flew under the radar. I think they just beat the radar. Like they didn't know I was coming until after I dropped the bombs on them.
Which is a fancy way of saying that she understood how to stay under the radar on purpose. She did win 2 immunities and played Stephanie like a fiddle, so she made some moves to stand out, but the storytelling almost ignores her completely until the merge, and from there she isn't really highlighted until the last few episodes. Danny does get some moments up until the final few episodes, but it's really the Stephanie show for most of the season. So for me, Danny garners a 5 out of 10 due to her storytelling not really giving her justice. Do I recommend Survivor Guatemala? Yes. Like Vanuatu, keep in mind the beginning is a bit flat. It takes until episode 4 for things to start getting interesting, and until episode 7 for the season proper to really take off. It's a slow start, I admit. And if I was only judging the season by the first 7 episodes, I'd be like, it's kind of boring, I'd skip it. But it's episode 8 and beyond where it's like, oh yeah, you gotta watch this. If you watch season 10 Palau, then the returns of Bobby John and Stephanie should be very interesting, as these people have changed and play different games here. Plus, Judd, Gary, and Danny are true highlights of the newbie cast. The introduction of some gameplay elements mix things up, and the location is just gorgeous. Survivor Guatemala's overall score is a 6.5 out of 10. Tune in next time as we kick off Survivor Tocantins. Yes, I know that's not season 12. The patrons voted for it as a reward for the 2-year anniversary of this channel. So we are doing Tocantins next, and then we will circle back to Exile Island afterwards. Thanks for watching, and if you like the content you see here, then please consider supporting me and this channel on Patreon. Your financial support makes all of this possible, so thank you, and thank you for watching.
First vote. Danny. Steph. Danny. The winner of Survivor Guatemala.